So first, I should apologize for my Franglish because I have a terrible French
That's
accent.
why you're speaking a lot better English than I would French, so please continue.
Yeah, okay. And I I understood about your career in A Strange Rock, the documentary, and I was, yeah, humbled. I must say, for
Aw.
many reasons, which we will go through. So um, maybe first I should tell you about the context of the event.
Okay.
So the context. So yeah, I have the hoodie of the startupper, but I'm a little bit old, so I need you know those glasses. No, those glasses came from my grandfather who was born in 1903. Look, they are like bulletproof.
Wow.
They are bulletproof, and
Oh,
it's
look at
like,
that.
no, I should
Oh, they
really
still
go.
work.
I should go get real ones, but I like those anyway. so so yeah, the context of the event is I have a company, whatever. I say you hi from Switzerland actually, but
Hmm.
nothing is sponsored here. It's all volunteer work, and there's nothing like that. I'm part of an association called KSC, which has as a goal to promote science careers via gaming,
Okay.
because gaming evolved a lot, and now I don't know. I heard Chris Hadfield talk about Kerbal Space Program, for example.
Yeah.
So this is a game which is not a simulation of just sending rockets, but literally a simulation of a space program. So, for example, you can your glasses are fine, huh?
I'm just cleaning them.
and so you can, for example, as it's a game, huh? So you have those little green men which are called Kerbals. Again, it's not sponsored, huh?
Yep.
It's just a platform, but you have all the orbital mechanics. You can literally build something. My son now shouting. I hope you don't hear him
I
somewhere
don't
here
hear
with
them.
his friends. Uh, Played it at he was like 6, and he was putting a booster at 45 degrees, for example, and
Yeah.
then physics happened. So it's a very, so the poor Kerbals, the poor astronauts there, don't yeah,
Oh,
there's a,
well.
yeah, that's not very good. But anyway, so the event is on so yeah, it's called the Spacecon. The event is on 3 days. The first day we have the big sponsors. For example, we have ESA. It happens in Polytechnic. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So there is the Friday, the job fair, but the fun happens on the next day. Okay, and this is why I wanted to contact you on the next day at 10 a.m. So it's what called a hackathon kind of event. At 10 a.m., every participant, every team, so the entire amphitheater will be filled with computers actually, and at 10 a.m. They will have a space mission. Okay,
Okay.
so I can disclose it to you, but you cannot say it even before the
Won't say
18,
anything.
or I have to kill you, which of course I will not do. But
Okay.
I mean, it's on the 18. On the 18, there is the the start. So the mission is actually, and it's a mission with a question. And so I will have questions after we go through your career, etc. But the mission is to go to deep space. So the simulation is like, for example, getting 10 tons on beyond Mars.
Okay.
So should I build 2 stations? They have literally, yeah, you know those young people, 24 hours, 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. So some people will probably build temporary stations, for refuel or whatever. And the game, the game is pretty good. And so the idea is those people will go for 24 hours. But that's not why I wanted to talk to you today, of course. But just so you know, so think about it. 10 tons beyond Mars. And of course, I will ask you your expert advice on because the time where you will be, where the interview will be shown, they will already know about the mission.
Okay.
So they start at 10 a.m. Normally, you will be there at 3 p.m. So this is the time where you can do, you can do the angry mom, like, what are you doing, guys?
Yeah.
You should do that. So if you have an opinion, think about it during the interview. Okay. So we collected, when I said that, so actually we will interview, right now we have 4 people confirmed. You, of course. There is a Concorde pilot, which happens to be my dad. So maybe I should, yeah, he was a Concorde pilot from '76. So so explaining about the machine, etc. We have also Scott Manley, which I think you met.
Oh yeah, he looks familiar.
Yeah. So Scott will be just after you, 2 hours after. Then we have the Concorde pilot, and then we might have Jean-Luc Chrétien. I don't know if you know him, French astronaut.
I do know, yeah. Yeah.
Which happens to know my dad, etc. So I'm trying to get him. He's still working. He's in Houston. It's crazy. He's like 80. I mean, sorry.
Who? Jean-Luc? Yeah. He's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Yeah.
So the way we did it, sorry, I went at length, but to me what I found first interesting, and then the entire community. So we are talking about community with a lot of people, okay? The community, I said, okay, what would you ask? So I'm not going to ask anything like how do you pee or poo in space. We are talking about we are going to be in Polytechnic, so there might be some engineering questions. To me, I focused also on the human questions, which I think are important. And you have a pretty, crazy career. So, no, crazy in the good term. So just I'm finding the giant channel where with all the questions. Hi Nicole. So I said, hey, if you want to ask a question to Nicole, you start by hi Nicole. So there is hundreds of hi Nicole. So you have a lot of hi from
nice.
About 10 countries, 10 different countries, community. Okay, so here it is. The first thing to me is you are one of the few who do not come from a military career. You are first an engineer, if I understood well. I documented myself, Wikipedia. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you built those machines. And from my understanding, when you build a machine, you know all the trade-offs, etc. So how does it feel when you get on board?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think the beginning of that question with respect to being having military experience versus being a civilian, I guess, and an engineer like I am. What I think has been really nice is that we've seen that grow more and more over time, right? Where if you look at the NASA astronaut office now, I would say at least half of the office are civilians. Oh. So it's about 50-50 now, civilian and military, because there's really no requirement for the military. Initially that was military test pilot. Was the requirement.
Yeah, I thought it was still the case, so that's okay.
Yeah, and so you can still, it's definitely open for sure to military applicants and stuff, but there's no requirement for that anymore, which is really wonderful. I think maybe as we go back to having to do test flights of these vehicles that we're flying, where
Yep.
you have particular things that would be appropriate for somebody who is a test pilot in an airplane to do.
There's so many
That
questions about that, but I listen.
yeah,
I listen.
that might be a driver, but really fortunate that civilians were allowed to apply and were considered worthy of applying. And yeah, my background as an engineer was before becoming an astronaut, really was all about how do you get a spacecraft ready to fly?
Yeah.
How do you make sure it's all in good shape before it gets out to the launch pad? And, you know, that's everything from just checking out systems to repairing the
Yeah.
spacecraft, and also potentially, you know, modifying it in ways that make it new somehow, you know, whether that's instrumentation or different kinds of materials on the outside of the spaceship. And I'm talking more, you know, really from my experience with the space shuttle, which is what I
Yeah.
worked the most closely on. And I think when you have the opportunity to work, like hands-on work alongside the people on the spaceship that you eventually end up getting to fly on, it's really it really ended up for me being a very comforting feeling
I
to
understand.
know, you know, not just the technology of it, but to understand the program that was in place to make sure that it was the best spaceship it
And
could be.
you know every nuts and bolts and
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but I knew a lot about it, right? But the key to me was the people that we worked with on the spaceship. I mean, all of these people, there were none that I met along the way that were the ones actually physically building, working,
Yeah.
constructing, repairing that spaceship that didn't feel like the care and feeding of that spacecraft was their responsibility. Like
Yeah.
they were the parents of this
Yeah.
spaceship, and they needed to make sure that it was in a really good, safe configuration for it to get back safely too. You know,
Yeah.
not just to take care of the astronauts, but for the spaceship itself to be taken care of. And that makes you feel, and I think it reassures your family too. I know my husband and my family felt like, oh man, we couldn't know any more about what had gone on with the build and the preparation of the spaceship than we did through the people that we knew that worked on it.
I have a corollary, I mean, a side question
Yeah.
about that. I met through my family, as I told you. I mean, I've been born in aerospace. I mean, I would say plane industry, and sometimes when you know how the thing is built, maybe you're a little bit more careful to go in there. That's why we have test pilots. You know, the guys who
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
yeah, okay, the engine is 50% going to explode. Yeah, fine. Yeah, cool. I'm a
We'll
you see
figure
what
it
I
out.
mean? Yeah, the test pilots, and you've been both. So this is impressive actually. Yeah, because the test, to me, test pilots were like people trusting the engineers so much that, yeah, they go for it, and they just go for it,
Yeah.
and it works. It works.
Yeah, and I think they, you know, for the most part, even test pilots, when you look at like their, you know, they have their military flying experience and all of that, but they also are engineers and
Yeah.
scientists.
And-
And, you know, behind their military part of it, there's the,
slightly crazy, slightly crazy.
and have maybe a little bit crazy side to them
Yes,
too.
okay.
Yes. But I think what's cool there is that these folks that are flying these aircraft, these spacecraft in some of the most extreme conditions with it, where they're really testing out the limits of that vehicle, they understand too. I mean, they're not just
Yeah.
blindly going into that, right?
Okay,
They
it's
have
not
a very intimate,
yeah.
understanding. Yeah.
I have a little bit of so again, this will be edited, so I will send you everything, and
Yeah, yeah.
you can cut whatever. I have a little bit of a touchy question. I was born, as I told you, in 76. So
A
let's say,
youngster. A youngster. You're young.
yeah. Thank you to tell me that. Yeah, I need,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I need bulletproof glasses.
That's
So,
okay. That's
I
all
know
right.
that. To me, my youth was about, the movie The Right Stuff, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it was the Chuck Yeager time, even if it was before my time, but that's what I was born with. My mother was a Concorde hostess. My dad was a
Mm-hmm.
Concorde pilot, and there was clearly a gender gap. I did. I'm a PhD in semiconductor, and during my studies, we were 50, for example, in engineer school. There was three women. Three.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah. No, but really, really, and you started as an engineer, which is, I think, because that's what I did, the toughest place to be a woman in. How do you see? I understand now it's changing and for the good, really. But did you leave that, and how what could be done to improve that, to improve this parity? Even I'm hiring coders for my work, and it's difficult to find women.
Yeah, yeah. I think these kind of exchanges that we're having, like this, the forums that you're putting together, are really important. I think there's this presence that's needed, right? It's why I like doing these kinds of things, getting out there, is that I think, especially for young women,
Yeah.
it's really important for them to see somebody that kind of looks like them, that represents them, that's out there doing something, that they might have otherwise considered impossible for whatever reason,
No.
whether somebody told them or they just are like, oh, I can't do that. Or at some point in school, they're like, this isn't cool anymore. Whatever it is, they need to see women that have done it. So I'm really pleased that there's
So
opportunities to get out there.
you're a kind of show figure for girls who code, for example. I understood.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. After I'd retired, I did a Super Bowl commercial with
That's great. That's
it's
great.
hysterical. I never would have thought that would have been something that would have been offered to me, let alone that I'd end up doing it. And the only reason I did it, well, number one, it was space themed. Their whole theme was
Yeah.
space. But the most important reason was that their whole like underlying platform for the commercial was supporting this organization, Girls Who Code.
You know,
And
sorry,
yeah,
go
that
ahead.
was really important to me. How fun it was fun to do a Super Bowl commercial, but if it had just been a commercial without that, I
So,
don't know that it would have been important for me to do it,
yeah, just
right?
200 million people saw it. That's just fine. That's just.
Yeah, but what's the value in it though
No, no,
overall?
there is
Yeah,
value. There is value.
yeah, and
I
needed
can
to
give you.
come
Sorry.
from the Girls Who Code, which
Uh,
was really, really good.
yeah.
But kind of continuing on that question, I think it's interesting. You said you want to hire coders and you're looking for women to do this, and it's difficult to find them.
No, it's very
And I think
difficult,
that's,
to be honest.
yeah,
And
and
I'm
you're
not especially looking for. I mean, I'm not looking for women. I'm
right.
looking for skilled people, but there is
Yeah,
so few women.
right. And that's what's happening. When I think about like right now, I think it's so cool that the NASA, I can only speak to the NASA astronaut office. So the NASA astronaut office right now it's about 42 active astronauts.
Yep.
About 40% are women.
Ah, finally.
That is huge.
Yeah, this is
That's
good. This is,
huge, right?
I
And
am,
you
sorry.
think about it, because right now, in parallel with that, at my university where I went to school, at probably the majority of other universities, at least in the US, engineering schools, they struggle to have 25% enrollment of women in their programs. Yeah. And that doesn't even speak to who actually end up graduating and going on and do engineering jobs or science or, STEM related jobs like that. And so what we're doing, this presence that we need to have, it's got to be younger, right? It's got to be when they're young, middle school, high school, so that pool of people is there and they know they're welcome. Because in the end, I don't think it's about the number, right? It's not going to be good enough until we have 50-50. Because maybe a lot of women don't want to be engineers, but they need to know they're welcome to do that,
Given, so this is going to be even a more touchy, not really question, but even a comment. To me, I work with women in my research, and I find the attention to detail. I'm not talking about sexy stuff. I'm talking the fact that they are seen as women, and I think there is the I would say the level of the level you need to be considered as good is higher for women. That's an opinion.
Yeah, and that's based on who's evaluating, right? Who's evaluating the women?
Yeah, all people. I have an anecdote just to make you smile. I have two nieces which I absolutely love. One is very girly, etc., and the other is very, very girly, absolutely great. She loves math, and she when her sister was playing with dolls, she was playing with trucks, but literally, cuddling the truck in the evening. Have a good night, truck, and those are different. But to me, I still feel I'm 47 years old. Yeah, okay. Thank you when you say I'm young. I'm happy.
Well, when you compare to me, you're young.
Yeah, and actually, that the interview is going to be, if I understood Wikipedia correctly, the interview is going, so I can tell you happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yes, the interview is going to be displayed exactly on your birthday. It's a accident of, yeah. No, but what I mean is, I feel the level to get to simple engineer acceptable level, the bar to me is higher for women still.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Am I right?
I think there is still some of that out there, and I think sadly
the US might be the US might be in advance for that compared to Europe.
We might be. That might be true. I'm not sure, but I think that the other part of that, the other side of that, I think, is that women, for whatever reason, we second guess ourselves in a way that discounts how talented we are too, right?
Yes.
So, for instance, a job notice is out there and it has these 5 things that you have to do. And unless we know or think that we can do each one of those 5 things really perfectly, we hesitate to apply. Yeah. And I don't like to stereotype anything, but in general, men will look at criteria like that. Like, yeah. Oh, I could do that. And women don't tend to do that. But I think it's still true what you're talking about. There are still a lot of places where, bringing men or women into consideration for a job, that the women will be looked at a little bit more, critically, like, oh, well, kind of second guess them too. And that's a shame. We just need to be looking at our pool. Like you said, you want somebody who's skilled. It shouldn't matter if you're a man or woman.
So to me, sorry, I'm French, so I tend to be absolutely rude. But to me, the glass ceiling what we call the glass ceiling for women. It's just the fact that the old men die way too late. They should die younger.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to wish
That's an
anybody
opinion,
dies,
but
but
we will cut that. But yeah, just say
yeah.
that because yeah. Anyway, okay.
I think there's less and less of a. I think the glass ceiling is shattering in so
But
many
it's
places and
uh,
ways, thankfully. And I think more and more
yeah,
as
it's changing.
women
It's
are out
changing.
there,
It's changing. It's
you know,
changing.
what's funny to me, I always try to tell young girls is like, and young boys too, it's like, you know what? The rocket ship doesn't care if you're a boy or girl.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
computer
Yeah.
doesn't care if you're a
Yeah.
boy or girl. The engine, the math that you're doing doesn't care if you're a
Yeah,
boy or
the
girl,
math is not gender
right?
related. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
none of it. Doesn't care what hair color you have, what sex you are, what flavor, any of it. Doesn't
Yeah.
care at all. We are the only ones that put that on ourselves, right? And
So
so, yeah, we got to get away from that.
I, I got to go to the questions because
Yeah,
the
go.
community is going to burn me alive because it's a fantastic subject and I really like. First, I must say I'm very what you did for Girls for Code. I think is something you will bring with you forever.
Yeah.
It's great. Everyone should code, but
And
and
that's,
if
I think
girls
that's really the
if,
message, right?
yes.
That's really the message is that if somebody wants to code, they shouldn't be saying, oh no, I'm a girl, I can't code. Or they shouldn't be saying, oh no, my feet are too big, I can't code. You know, none of that has anything to do
Yes.
with it. And the same
Yes.
is true for so much else. And that's why I always like to come back to this
Yeah.
idea that the environment that needs coders
Yeah.
or the environment that needs somebody, the place that needs somebody to be able to build a rocket engine, they need to be the ones welcoming everyone
If you
into
know
the
how
game.
to code, you have a job.
Yeah.
Period.
That's
That's
the way it should be.
that's clear.
Yeah.
And yeah, to be honest, it's yeah. So if you push girls girls who code, that means girls will be first. So I have to build guys who code. Okay. So sorry,
Well,
I have to
I
go.
mean, I think they're making them know that they're welcome to do this, that they should feel like they can be part of
Yes,
that.
yes.
And sadly, at this point, we have to have something called Girls Who Code versus, hey, everybody, let's code.
Yeah. No, no, for sure, for sure. I'm pushing
Yeah.
my this guy over
Yep.
there. It's getting there, but we'll get
Okay.
there. Okay, so I have some questions. You're yeah, sorry, there's like we curated them, huh? So there's not so many. There's like about 75 questions. So I hope you have a little bit of time, if possible. But okay, there is a thing with you're an engineer. You build space shuttles, and then you became an astronaut, and you have 104 days in space. Do you understand this can be very intimidating for the average layman? No, I mean, so
Yeah.
tell us the path. Tell us how I mean, you didn't decide, okay, I will do engineer, build space shuttles, being an astronaut, and 104 days in space.
No.
So is it
No.
luck? I guess not.
You know what? There's going to be some luck in there. I hate to say it, but that happens along the way with everything. But the number one, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about before. It's like if I enjoy something, if I like coding, if I like knowing how airplanes fly, I should be encouraged to learn more about that, right? And so as a kid, I discovered I liked flying. I wanted to know how things fly. My parents and then everyone around me encouraged me to learn more about that.
Tell me about your family. You were in a engineering environment or?
No, not at all. My mom is a nurse who's also very creative. If I was going to be doing any kind of art class or anything like that, she was the one getting me there to do that. My dad was a businessman, and but his hobby, he loved to build and fly small airplanes. So as a family, we were out at the airport all the time, thanks to my mom
Yeah.
getting us out to the airport. And so growing up, I'm like hanging out with airplane people, flying people. My dad's building an airplane in our garage. My bike's getting painted all the colors that his airplane's getting painted. So that was kind of a really personal thing to see
Yeah.
happening. I got to help him do it. Out at the
It, it
airport, I got to fly with other people.
it
And I mean, I didn't even
resonates.
realize.
It resonates so much. I mean,
Yeah.
I should not say that because I'm talking to an astronaut, but it resonates so much. So my dad was a pilot, and
Yeah.
one of the things I did as a hobby, not for long enough, I must say, was flying gliders. And
Hmm.
you have this weekend with people 16, 17 years old, you see, where you push, to be able to fly 1 hour, you have to help
Yeah.
move the gliders, etc. The atmosphere is great. So I just say for the, I don't know how many thousand people will watch this interview, but do that. And in general, it's very cheap also because it's
Yeah.
volunteer work. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, and to be hanging around with people like that, they're excited to share what they love about
Yes.
flying,
Yes.
right? And it's true for any other subject too. But, for me, it was flying. I love thinking about it too, because my sisters, they were exposed to that same thing, but neither one of them, that didn't become their passion. They're excited that they got to be part of it, but they was, so we all find what we love through the things we're exposed to.
Yeah.
And so thankful that I had that opportunity, with my family that way. That led me to, oh my gosh, when I'm getting ready to graduate from high school, not even knowing if I was going to go to college, I was like, well, if I do go to college, what would I want to do? And I didn't even know what engineering was
Yeah.
then. And so I didn't. I was just like, hey, I think if I'm going to go to college, I'll probably want to study, how airplanes fly. And somebody told me, oh, well, then you need to study aeronautical engineering. I'm like, okay, I'll go do
So
that. And while I was there, it was like, man, if I want to know how airplanes fly, why would I not want to know how rocket ships fly? And that led me down the NASA path.
so tell me a short pitch about you have in front of you 16, 18, 20 years old, and who knows, who looks at you on Wikipedia and says, I can't, I mean, it's impossible that I can ever do that. So what would you say to those people? Go step by step?
Well, first of all, I would say it's not, if I'm doing it, it's not impossible. I mean, it wasn't for me from the very beginning. Like, I'm old enough to have watched that first moon landing, right? I'm old enough to have remembered the first time people stepped on the moon.
Yeah.
And I think even at 6 or
You're not
7,
that old. You're not that old.
No, I am that old.
No,
I
no,
am
no.
that.
My dad, my
Happy
dad,
birthday.
my dad is 82. So you have a.
Well, I will be 61 this year. So that's,
I know, I
that's
know.
old enough to have seen those landings. And I mean, I remember with my family going out and looking at the moon and thinking about how cool that was. Because even at 6 or 7,
Yeah.
it's a really extraordinary thing to see. But it didn't seem like it was real, something that could be real for me, right? And so, but no one ever told me I couldn't do it, which is awesome. But I knew along the way I discovered this flying thing. I wanted to know how things fly. For me, it was always a matter of, what am I most curious about? Okay, then I should study that at school. It never was, from the time I was 7, it was like, okay, my life will not be good enough unless I become an astronaut. I never thought that way, ever
Oh,
thought that way. I
you,
always
you have to
thought,
elaborate on that. Sorry, you have to
so,
elaborate on that.
okay, yeah, so I thought astronaut was a really cool thing, right? Even
Yeah,
at 7 years
well,
old, I thought it was
yeah,
very
sure.
cool. It didn't seem like it was going to be something that could be possible. It just didn't. It seems it seems like astronaut, that's something other special people get to do. Why would they ever pick me to be an astronaut? To the point of where as I got older and was working as a NASA engineer, even then I was like, ooh, why would they ever pick me? Even when I knew I satisfied all of the basic requirements to be an astronaut, I was just, oh, that's just something
Yeah,
that's too big to even think about.
to serious.
Why? Don't even go there,
So
And
it's
so,
so
yeah,
it's
I mean,
be
through
be bold.
paying attention to what I loved, I mean, really just paying attention to, I mean, I want to know how things fly. I want to know how airplanes fly. That makes a space shuttle program, got to work, do it as an engineer. And through that, I really got to see what astronauts do.
So,
And I think that's really important for people. If you want to do, you better really know what they do.
oh, that's a
Right?
good point.
Yeah.
I was thinking like be bold, go ahead, like
Absolutely,
apply.
absolutely. And the thing that gave me the like inspired me to be bold though was not from in me. It was from people that I considered to be mentors, right?
Yeah.
People who I worked with that knew my capabilities really did nothing more than encourage me to pick up the pen and fill out the application.
How does
And I
it
would
work?
not have done that on my own.
How does
Yeah,
it work?
I had
You get a form and you say I want to be I want to go on
well, you get the
the.
form. It's a form and it has astronaut as one of the jobs that you want to pick
Okay.
to apply for. And
So
then they have all these
apparently,
questions,
so
that you fill out. It's a basic work application.
I
And so I
interviewed
did
I,
that.
I interviewed my dad yesterday and he said the same. Concorde was like checkbox and yeah, just do it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And but there's these things that you have to do, right? No one else could fill out the application for me.
Yeah.
That was the one thing in the whole process that I had control of was to fill out that application. And I would not have done it without the encouragement of those people. And I am so thankful to them because I think about how much the opportunities that I just would have lost that would never have been possible
Yeah.
to me if I
Yeah.
hadn't filled out that one application. It's
This.
incredible. And the people that I met along the way, before I ever became an astronaut, the people that I met along the way that were always lifting me up, that were kind of guiding me in different directions and making opportunities available. But then I had to like raise
And
my hand and say, yes, I'll go do that.
you flew. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, imagine you flew on space shuttle, and you flew on Soyuz.
I trained on Soyuz, but I never got to fly on the Soyuz.
I thought you flew on Soyuz. Okay, okay, okay.
I was hopeful to get to, but I ended up flying. Both of my flights were on the space shuttle.
Okay.
But I trained on the Soyuz,
But
and at the time, the Soyuz was our rescue vehicle.
okay, 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 okay.
Yeah.
So that's
Just
why
don't
you
use
are.
Don't use Wikipedia.
Wikipedia is not correct. Okay, 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 okay. No, but I'm getting some questions from the community. Okay.
Okay.
So this is going to be going places. That's just be
Okay,
prepared.
that's fine.
Yeah. So the key differences between the Soyuz and the shuttle preparation missions, and what are the strangest differences between them?
Well, I mean, the most strange and obvious difference is that the space shuttle has wings, and so you would land on a runway, that little
Yeah.
chirp on the runway. That was very nice versus, being a capsule.
Well,
The
wings,
space shuttle,
yeah, it flies.
yeah, wings
Wingish,
that kind of
yeah.
still drop like a
It's
brick, but you got
it's a
to land
bridge.
on a runway. Yeah. And then I think the biggest thing is that, the space shuttle was a vehicle built in the United States. The Soyuz is a vehicle built in Russia. And so to train on the Soyuz, or to even prepare to go to the space station, I spent a lot of time in Star City, Russia, training.
Yeah.
And all of our crewmates.
So
do that.
you need to learn Russian, etc. I guess.
You have to learn to speak Russian. Just to fly on the space station, you have to learn to speak Russian.
So,
And that
soon you will have to
probably the
learn
most difficult
French.
thing I had to do.
Soon you will have to learn French for Ariane 6
Oui.
whenever it happens.
That would be fantastic.
in
Yeah.
in 2200. Okay, okay.
But on the Soyuz, everything is in Russian. The manuals, the checklists, the instrumentation, the communication with the control center is all in Russian. So that is a big factor.
But is the atmosphere,
training-
the atmosphere, the ambiance, as I would say in French, the atmosphere, the vibe, is it very different between a US and a Russian launch to you?
There's a lot of like, just traditions and things that are different between launching on a space shuttle, launching on a Soyuz. Launching on a space shuttle, a lot of energy. You are shaken and rocked with those
Yeah.
solid rocket boosters. The Soyuz is all liquid fuel in line, so it's a much smoother, liftoff of the pad. It's a much smaller
Yeah.
internal volume. Space shuttle seems ginormous when you get to
Yeah.
space, once you get out of your seat and float. The way you dock and meet up with the space station
The
is kind
way
of is
the
a
way
very
you dock.
different
Sorry, but you will have thousands of engineers from Polytechnic here. So the way you dock, you have to elaborate.
So the way you fly and then attach, like approach and attach to the space station
Yeah.
is very different on the shuttle than it is on the Soyuz.
Okay.
So the Soyuz has a whole automatic docking system. It's a much smaller interface
Oh,
to dock with.
it's not a standard interface. You
There,
have.
there is a standard, but in terms of the vehicle approaching, it's a much smaller like window of what you're, and how you approach, even though the mechanism might be the same size. And the space shuttle, it's bigger than
Yeah,
any of
it's
the
big.
modules on the space. I mean, it's a huge vehicle approaching to attach in that same way. There's so much about it that's different. The components of the space shuttle, you had the orbiter, the boosters, and the big orange tank. So you had to learn all about all of that. Whereas the Soyuz is essentially, the liquid rocket and the capsule. And
Okay.
so, yeah.
Great. So again, it's community questions, so it's really going to jump. I don't want to get you late, huh? Okay, but there's a lot. What's your favorite space movie, and or not space movie?
My favorite space movie. There's two of them, and I like all the space movies.
Contact here.
So
Contact.
I do like Contact too, but yeah, very good. But my favorite space movies are ones that are more about the people and the way they
Yeah.
interact.
Yes.
So they're kind of goofy, funny movies. One is a movie called Galaxy Quest.
Okay. Galaxy Quest. Noted.
Which it's kind
Noted.
of a spoof on Star Trek, and it's a comedy that's kind of a spoof, but the way the people interact, oh my gosh, it reminds me of my cruise. And then the other one is one called Rocket
This is
Man.
great. So Galaxy Quest reminds me of NASA missions. Okay. Well, no,
Yeah.
we're getting there.
Yeah, and Rocket Man, it's a really goofy, funny one about this crew going to Mars, and just the interaction between the crew members is really, really good.
Okay. I had some questions about the training actually. So I had questions like how many spins have you done in space? Like if you're spinning, what's the maximum number of spins before being sick? Okay, I guess we can skip this one.
I never got sick.
You never got sick. Okay. Oh, you don't have. Yeah, you're not sick in
Well,
planes.
not in space. I never got sick in space.
And in planes?
In planes, I came close a couple times with some friends flying in the T-38.
Yeah,
pretty
okay.
aggressive
You're
flying.
talking not about
Yeah.
747. Okay.
Not on a
So
747.
you did not. Okay. So yeah, Nicole did not vomit in planes. That was a question. Did you have some? This one I think is a pretty deep one. Did you have some habits? Some gimmicks that you were doing before launch. So I know some people I don't know they kiss their key or whatever
Like tradition kinds of things.
tradition.
Or,
I don't want to say superstition, but you see what I mean. The habits. Did you have any of that?
Well, on the space shuttle, we, as crews, we've just through the years, there's been these traditions that I think end up being superstitions, because if you don't do it, you feel like you might be, jinxing yourself somehow. But on the space shuttle, the crew would always play like a hand of blackjack with the commander and the chief of the astronaut office. And
A hand of blackjack?
yeah, or like 21, like a card game.
Okay.
And,
No, I know
yeah.
I know what is blackjack, but I did not I did not understand what you meant. Sorry for the camera.
Yeah.
It's going to come back.
That's okay. And then I think everybody has their own thing, saying a prayer.
No,
That's
why
always
not?
good.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, why not? And once you get strapped in,
Listening
making
to
sure you put stuff in the same place all the time. There's stuff like that. Yeah.
Specific music or something like this is my song before flight or something like that?
Well, I mean, I did it twice, so I didn't really have that. I mean, we always had music playing, but not necessarily. I don't remember having to need the same kind of music on.
Okay,
Definitely wanted to talk to my family before I got into the spaceship.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a very deep one, and I don't want to get you in trouble with your future career in space, but I know pilots, and they do pranks. They do pranks to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you do pranks to your colleagues in space, like moving them in a zero gravity? And I mean, for the new the first flight. I mean, even as a glider, I had that. As a glider pilot, I made like 6 hours of a glider in my life, and I was pranked. So I know you do pranks. So you without putting you in trouble, can you tell me a couple examples?
Yeah, I mean, I think we always are doing. I mean, I think that's just part of being human,
Of course,
and because
you need that.
you can't be, even when you're doing something complex like flying on a spaceship or being in space for months at a time.
We do it as engineers.
You've got to be human. Yeah.
We do it as engineers every day. I mean, not every day,
all
but
the time. It's important, I think, to have personality and professionalism, have a nice mix of all of that. Yeah. So we had fun,
So
I mean, you could scare people.
so tell me two or three, please. I mean, without I will not tell NASA. I promise. Can you tell me 2 or 3 examples of pranks you did to your colleagues?
I think they were pranks, but they were always kind of nice. Like, people finding little surprises in their crew compartment or something, finding a piece of candy or a cookie in a place they might not have expected it, or
okay.
I mean, stuff like where you're like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? And I mean, there were fun things like, really you could hide on the space station and pop out of places where people weren't expecting you.
Yeah, because you can come from the top.
Or you could be hanging over the top of them and they don't even know. Yeah.
This is great. Because I heard Thomas Pesquet said that, and he said it was a fake, but I don't believe him. Thomas Pesquet, you probably know, the French astronaut.
Yeah.
And who was impossible to reach, by the way. And Thomas said that they had a Japanese astronaut that they actually moved during the night very slowly and changed like wrong room, like in the wrong room, and he was and the guy woke up like, where the fuck am I?
Yeah, I can imagine.
Do you confirm or deny?
I can't confirm or deny that he did that, but I can confirm that it would be something that would be possible to do.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so I go on the questions. Sorry, I don't want to eat up all of your time. I'm so enjoying this interview. A question: do you have any privacy up there?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we have, the whole bathroom and where you would take your sponge bath, that's all enclosed in a private area. And then each person has their own individual crew compartment, which is about the size of an old phone booth. Plenty of room, door, quiet,
Yeah,
dark at night.
you can be on your own. You can.
Absolutely can be
Okay.
on your own. And
Okay.
it's interesting, even on the space station itself, you can have a crew of 6 or 7, and depending on where you're working during the day, you could be separated from all of your crewmates for an extended period of time without and not see them unless you purposely
But
went and looked for them. It's just big enough that you can be separated that way.
can you also gather together and say we switch off all cameras and we just have a talk or something like?
We do that every day. I mean, all of our dinner time, and once the day was done, the cameras went off, and you're hanging together. We ate all of our meals together. We really both times I flew in space, it was a lot of just the crew just wanting to be together too. But you have your private places too. You have your crew compartment where at night you are completely separate too. So it's a
So
very, it's a really
you
wonderful.
can gather with a friend without any someone from Houston watching.
Yeah, yeah, we have agreement. I mean, as far as we know, because we have agreement about when the cameras will be in operation or not.
Okay,
During the workday, the cameras are on. During our free time or after hours, the cameras are only on if we agree with ground.
I have a very fun and a very dark question then.
Okay?
Okay, I start with what? The dark
You
one?
go, whatever you think.
Okay, the dark. Uh, but it's a two-way question. Have you thought about dying during a mission? How have you prepared for it? Have you? I mean,
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's the risk of us dying no matter what we do. But yeah, there's an increased risk, I think, when you're launching on a spaceship that has millions of pounds of exploding,
is it still the
rocket
case?
stuff.
That's the second part of the question. Is it still the case? Is it still? We see like
Risky?
SpaceX sending 100 in a row.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're going through very deliberate, diligent protocols between each of those flights to ensure that they're as safe as possible, right? And that's what we did every time we flew, with the space shuttle or on the Soyuz. But it is an elevated risk to what we kind of do in our day-to-day
Yeah,
lives,
yeah.
right? Or living on a machine in space
And
that's just this thin aluminum.
did you prepare in any way or something with family or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody has their own kind of personal way of dealing with that. But, my husband and I, for sure, made sure we had that conversation and that he knew where everything was and, that what all the wishes were across the board. And, but I think it's more about just having that understanding with your family, especially. Like my son was 7 when I flew the first time, and
And you flew on
kids
which
even at 7.
you flew on which shuttle?
I flew on my first flight. I flew up on Discovery and down on Atlantis,
Okay.
and then my second flight was the final flight of Discovery.
Oh
Yeah.
yes. What a
So
flight. What a
just that
flight.
kids know what's going on, and so you just have to, like for me, flying in space, it's not just about that adventure stuff, right? To me, the only reason I would have strapped into that rocket, especially with a 7-year-old son at home, was that I believe the work we're doing in space is important. I believe it's all about improving life on Earth. It's not just about the adventure of launching in a rocket,
So
because that to me is not worth it.
I have a question that actually was, I think, in A Strange Rock, the documentary. I think it's your son holding your gloves, the space
Yes.
gloves. So tell me about those gloves. How someone asked me how was it to handle those gloves, etc. And yeah, tell me about the
Well,
gloves.
yeah, so those gloves were not mine. There's some demonstration ones that they allowed us to use, but they were
Yeah.
very similar to what I flew with.
I also took
It
stuff
was,
from work. No problem.
yeah, yeah.
Nobody will know. Nobody will know.
But it was, to have that experience. I mean, he came with me out to all kinds of training. So he felt those gloves before. He saw me put them on and then get into the ginormous pool to train in them. And
Lucky
he
boy.
was, he got to experience all of that as much as he could, following along with me, right? It was really important to me for him to know what I was doing. But I think during that sequence in One Strange Rock, he says he was afraid, while I was doing that. And I'm like, I was a little afraid doing it myself. So, it makes total sense that there's a little bit of anxiousness or a little bit of wondering what something is going to be like when you're going to go out and do something like that.
Well, it can be in your car also, huh? So we never.
Yeah.
Yep. So I have some very interesting questions. Those were listed as very interesting and totally out of this world. Okay. What is the most mundane thing that you missed when you were up there? The most
mundane thing.
The most literally the most the if anything.
Wow. I can't. Wow. I
don't know, a smell.
I don't think this is
view.
mundane. I think there's this kind of idea that maybe nature and grass and smells and air, fresh air would seem mundane, but it's not. I mean, those are the things I missed. Besides my family, I missed what Earth is all about, right? That what the planet really gives us. And I think in our day-to-day lives, it's just like, I'm going outside, I'm walking in the grass, I'm walking in the dirt, I'm touching flowers, I mean, whatever, I'm smelling fresh air. It just seems like it's something that we do.
So when you came back, you went to smell flowers and dig in the grass?
Just as soon as the hatch opens, you're like, oh my gosh, what is that?
Hugging trees and all that.
Hugging trees, yeah. But okay. I mean, maybe not to that extreme, but certainly appreciating, like, oh my gosh, I never noticed all of this. Really appreciated and noticed, yeah.
So the next question might be a little bit of a rabbit hole. What is the best part to be far away from humanity?
Well, that end part is what kind of qualified, to be far away from humanity. I think where we were on the space station, it's far away, but you still have this view of Earth, right? You still have this view of Earth that's a really, really powerful connection to all of humanity. So you don't ever feel like you're really that. And the fact that I had crewmates, right? I think for me, if I was by myself in that place, or if I was without Earth out the window and I was by myself, then I might feel like I could, speak to being far away from humanity. But the one thing is that when you're on that spaceship, all of the work you're doing together up there, everything has this very positive purpose in it, right? Yes. This really high mission associated with it. And it made me think a lot about the time we waste here on Earth with insignificant kinds of things, the way we challenge each other and battle each other and are working against each other in so many ways is completely, you just cannot do that on a space station. You cannot do it on a space station and survive. You can't do it there and survive. And we shouldn't be doing it here, because if we continue to do it here, we won't survive either.
Related to that, did you get this famous view from, the view from space? The view of the Earth from space? And did you get that?
I did, and I did this idea of the overview effect, I think is what you're
overview. The overview.
Yeah. And before I flew in space, I didn't even know what those two words were. I had never heard that term before. Since flying in space, though, I'm very close friends with Frank White, the amazing human being who coined that term and came up with that whole philosophy of how we would experience Earth from space. But I did. Those things that he describes, I absolutely felt that. I have I'm like, oh my gosh, we live on a planet. We're all Earthlings. This only border that matters, and
Yeah.
how we need to behave like crewmates. And
And
it
you don't see the
perfectly fits.
frontiers. You don't see the frontiers. You don't see the continents. I mean, you see the continents, of
No,
course, but you don't see
yeah,
the
yeah,
countries. Yeah.
yeah. And everything you see that looks like a line, it's all man-made. It's all us doing
Yeah.
that to ourselves,
I
right?
agree.
But the only border, that only frontier that matters is that thin blue line of atmosphere. That is it
Nicole,
for all of us.
honestly, I can't wait that aliens literally come, and then we will be united.
Yeah.
This is a personal opinion. Okay. No, no, but okay.
Independence Day. That's fun.
So there was some more detailed questions. For example, when you were up there for a long time, I mean, you made 104 days, I think, up there. There must have been little trouble between this and that person. How did you deal with conflict when you are in a confined environment? There's been entire series about that, huh? So
Yeah. But you know what? I don't ever remember feeling like with the crewmates I was with that we ever had, I don't remember real conflict, right?
oh, it
And I
can be
think that,
little trouble, but
yeah. Or people like, what? Oh, I think we should do this way or that way. And then you just work it out. I mean, I never remember being like anybody battling over, oh
uh,
no, I have to have it my way.
there
It
must.
was,
Sorry,
it was
Nicole.
more.
Sorry to interrupt, Nicole. But there must have been some astronaut who have put his sock in the wrong place.
Yeah, well, you know what? That happens everywhere, right? And, or there's people who don't put their stuff away, or, but I think to our credit, the way we trained
Yeah.
with each other on Earth for several years before we flew together in space,
There's a big
we
question about that.
purposely,
Yeah.
yeah, we purposely made it a point to say, okay, everybody's going to have a bad day. Here's how we're going to deal with it. Things are going to go wrong. Here's how we're going to deal with it. And we came to like this cadence of how we dealt with
Okay.
stuff like that.
Okay.
And so I can't give you any specific example of stuff that just, wasn't like perfectly, but I think because how we knew each other and what we expected from each other, we worked it out. I mean,
Okay.
I wish I could apply the same thing to my family.
So
as
then,
I did
yes,
to my
yes,
crew.
exactly what. That was my second question. So, if it works in an environment where you are uh, outside in vacuum, why can't we do that here?
I think we can. And I think it comes down to really establishing the rules of engagement, right? Here's how we're going to work together. Here's what, I mean, I know it sounds so simplistic in all of it, but I think for the most part, just really taking the time to understand each other, what bothers each of us. And I know 7 people on a space station versus 7+ billion on a planet, it's a little bit, but if we all started doing that from our
Yeah.
smaller communities, it would build out to the larger communities as well.
I don't know 7 billion people, but let's say 10, maybe 100. I can maybe yeah no, and yeah. When are you starting to do something like that? To say make peace together. I don't know what. Okay, sorry.
I
I'm
know.
a big
Well, I
naive.
wrote a book.
I would hug trees if I was coming back from space. Okay, I have more questions. You tell me if you want to stop, huh? But I really enjoy that, and it's really great. So yeah, I had questions about the older missions, like Gemini, for example. And do you think we are now too careful? For example, Artemis took so many years late to start, or were they just mavericks? Like they were just crazy.
I
Would
don't
you
I
fly
don't know
those?
that.
And would you fly those? That was the end of the question.
Would I fly
Gemini.
on what? Oh, Gemini. Yeah, I think so. I think that, if I was in that place back in that time where we were developing that rocket, I think yes. The thing that's interesting to me now, the question about are we too risky or too risk averse, I guess. In some ways, maybe, but I think we're kind of forced into that through government agency driving those kinds of
Yeah, it
things
was
and the way the
Cold
funding
War,
works and all of that.
Cold War time or
Yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But what I love is that even within the government agencies like NASA, and you can look at ESA and others that are doing something very similar, is realizing the value of partnering with the commercial companies, having this public-private partnership that goes on, which is happening, between NASA and SpaceX, NASA and Boeing, NASA and Blue Origin, all of these, where we realize there's the opportunity to leverage a commercial community that can do things differently than the way NASA would have to do them, but still satisfy the requirements and the safety that we've put in place along the way. Thank you to the, Mercury, Gemini, Apollo people along the way.
That's great. I have a really great question. So you told me that your view of space changed your view of the world. Okay. Who would you bring up there? Any person or persons or historical figures to have changed their view?
Yeah.
It's a Ukrainian, okay? What do you think would have changed from that?
I think, I kind of look at it in the here and now. Like if we could just, and as crewmates, we talk about this a lot, like, man, if we could just have all of our political leaders up here at the same time, floating around, their heads bopping off each other, looking out that window.
Yeah, and you can throw them. You can throw them from the window also.
Well, there's that too. But, put them in that place where there's no denying who and where we all are in space together. There's no denying the ultimate, consideration and all of the decisions they make. We were just talking about how we've got this, couple hundred, whatever community that we can directly influence, but we cannot deny all of whom we share our planet with, right? There's no like other side of the planet anymore. There's no them and us, because just the way we communicate with each other now, the access we have to the information about what's going on around this world, I suppose we could go live in a box and not pay attention to it. But even if you're not the next door neighbor of somebody who's, in a place of conflict or in a place of, lack of resources, we know that's going on.
I have a question on that also.
Yeah, we have to manage that. So, and those guys, they need to have that view and understand that from a much, more important perspective than their own little myopic view of things.
As a small anecdote, I shook hand when I was like 13 with Jean-Luc Chrétien, and he had the eye of the guy who saw Earth from space. I mean, I was 13. I still remember shaking hands with him. This guy, and he has like ice blue eyes on top of that. So he very impressive, very impressive. And I was this guy saw the Earth from space, and it was to me. It was 34 years old, and it was the space people are important, very important. I have a couple more questions. Something that strikes me, and we are going to go to the more human things. You applied for astronaut apparently in 2000. Okay.
Yeah. So I applied in 1998 and 2000. Yes.
Okay, and you flew in 2006.
I flew in 2009 and 2011.
Okay, 2009. Sorry, you see Wikipedia. Wikipedia, 2009. I correct. How do you deal with the weight? I mean, You're just forgetting about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, for our class, when we were selected in 2000, with the number of flights that were going to be going on, we were already told it would be 5 to 6 years before we had our first flight. And then, sadly, in 2003, we had the Columbia accident.
Yes.
And so that's what delayed all of our class and the class before us, too. The average was, 8 to 9 years before flying for the first time.
Okay, and tell me, one day you get the call. Tell me this minute. Just please. I'm sure you remember it. You get the call or the letter. Tell me the minute. Tell me the minute.
So you want to know about getting assigned to a mission or getting selected to be an astronaut?
No, you're going to fly.
Oh, going to fly. Yeah, that one. I actually was driving in my car, and the chief of the astronaut office called me on the phone and just said, "Hey, Nicole, we want you to fly on the International Space Station." And I said yes.
And what? Tell me what happened in your brain apart from crashing the car, I guess.
No, I was a passenger, so that was good.
Okay.
I was just really, I was really excited. I was already working as a backup for somebody else's mission, and at that time we had to do a backup, support before we got assigned to our prime mission. So I knew it was coming soon, but I don't think you ever. I think it's just still totally a surprise when the call finally comes, and I was really excited. I was trying to stay professional, though, not get all, crazy excited on the phone, and very thankful. I thanked him for the call and for the opportunity. And then once I was assigned, it was still 3 years. Well, it was still a year and a half before I flew, because I was already back up, and then it was another year and a half of training.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
My cat is still watching you. Huh?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So another question that came a lot is, you are flying, okay, and then you are in, I don't want to say zero gravity, but suddenly describe the first minute. The first minute. What happens?
Oh my gosh, you cannot. I mean, it's so cool because on this, the space shuttle,
okay,
you've gone through this.
You did not vomit in planes, but did you vomit in the space shuttle?
No,
okay.
I did not. I was very fortunate. Very fortunate.
I was looking for an anecdote like she vomited.
Very thankful. Yeah, I felt so good. Of course, I had gotten advice, about, okay, you get to space, now you're floating, try to be very careful about the way you move and all of that.
I think you can't move your head too much or something like that. No, I heard something
like that.
Yeah,
that's what they tell, because the little hairs in your ears aren't giving you any good signals anymore, because you can't tell what's up or down, and your body just wants to move and float, and you can't. I mean, I couldn't wait to get out of my seat when it was like that. I just wanted to just have this liberating, effortless movement, to just be able to float and fly. And of course, the first place you want to fly up to is the window.
I'm jealous, Nicole. I'm jealous.
I am jealous too. I would love to do it again. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I don't think anything really prepares you for it. And then that you can get to the point where that's just where it feels natural to move and fly that way, to just be moving in 3 dimensions without even thinking about it. Just gracefully.
Yeah, you decide where is up and down, and you can prank your colleagues. You can prank your colleagues like Batman. Spider-Man. Okay. That's great. I have a little a question we can cut. Space has always been a place of peace. Recently, we had American and a Russian astronaut coming back to Earth. How do you feel when you see the Earthling fighting as an astronaut? And with people you flew with, and probably some of them your friends. How do you? What's your feeling about that? We can cut it.
I mean, just thinking about it, I get this churny feeling in my stomach. I'm really I am so hopeful that the way we continue to work in space together can be like this shining, guiding
Yes,
light for us.
yes, I so agree with that.
I hope we don't lose that. I think that it's been such a wonderful example for how we can peacefully, successfully do really important things together. And I just, in this day and age, I don't know why anywhere on this planet, the idea of dropping a bomb or, starting a war is the solution to any problem. It makes no sense to me at all. When
Yeah.
we can do the level,
Because you had
Yeah.
you flew with Russian friends, I guess. I mean, I have
Yeah,
Russian
yeah,
friends. Huh?
very close, like family,
Yeah.
and we still are in partnership with, those 5 international space agencies are still working together on the space station, and we need to figure out how to make that way, the ways we do that, be the things that come back to Earth and really help us manage the conflict we have down here. For the greater good mission of us all surviving, of all life on Earth surviving, and then hopefully thriving because of it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I had a question which is actually a two-way question. Is it possible to retire from being an astronaut? I mean, don't you want to go back there every day? Or
Oh my God.
the other way to say it is, what did you think when you came back from space and you were in a traffic jam going to Walmart?
Yeah,
I think you know what I want to say.
Yeah, it all seems a little trivial. I think that I can't imagine having gone to space and experiencing that really extraordinary place that way and not wanting to go back. You can ask me when I'm 95 years old, do I want to go back to space? And the answer would be absolutely yes. And I would wish that I could bring my family and my friends with me.
Oh, you're still young, Nicole. You're still young.
Share that experience. But there's an attraction to Earth that I don't think goes away. And you want to be here too. You want to smell the smells and feel the dirt and the fresh air. And I think by being in that place in space, yeah, even Walmart, even the Walmart. But
okay.
I think by being in space, you realize just how precious, how purposefully designed this place is for us. There's nothing like it anywhere else. And when we build our spaceships, we have to build them the best we can to mimic what Earth does for us naturally. So there's something really just that, like, Earth is about us. We're about it. And yeah. I'm hopeful that we remember that.
I think that if I was in a Walmart traffic jam, and someone tells me, do you want to go to space? I would go, I would sign directly. But that's fine. Okay, I have a question which is actually a good one. Why all good. Yeah, for once I have a good question. Why all the people who walked on the moon are 70 or 80 years old?
Why are they?
Why? What happened? What happened?
Well,
when I was so I'm from 76. It was called the space winter. Space was when I was young. When my dad was young. So he was he's from 42. So he was like. He was on Concorde in 76. He saw in 69 the landing on the moon. Everyone thought, hey, by the 90s, we will be on Mars. What the fuck happened? Nicole, tell me.
I think, like with all great things, it comes down to like the politics and the money and decisions and. I'm just thankful we're headed back to the moon now. I've got 4 friends that next year will be.
Now it's all the rage. Now it's all the rage, and it's great. It's great.
Yeah. But we weren't doing nothing in the meantime. There's a lot of people that are very disrespectful, actually, of what we did with, Space Shuttle and what we're continuing to do with the International Space Station in low Earth orbit. I think if they really looked at it, they'd see what benefit has come from all of that. And yes, we weren't, on the moon, but the things we've done that will lead us forward in space in so many ways, and that have ultimately just been done to the benefit of life on Earth.
Yeah.
We need to be thankful and respectful of that, and not pretend like nothing was going on since 1972.
I can promise you, Nicole, that everyone who will hear you is convinced that the space exploration is a good thing. Okay.
Yeah.
A couple very basic questions. I heard that the weightlessness felt like falling. It feels like you're falling. Is it true?
Well, it might feel that way because you actually are, right? You're kind of continuously falling around the Earth. I never really felt that way. I did feel that way on zero G flights. When you go on the airplane and do it, it's like, whoo, then you feel like initially got that fall. I never felt like I was falling in space, though.
You will not admit you did vomit in the space shuttle. Okay, that's fine. No,
I did not vomit.
I'm joking.
I came close on the zero G airplane, but I've never vomited on a space shuttle.
Okay. No, it's someone told me who made a zero G flight. It's like falling of the time, like falling off a bridge, but non-stop.
On a zero G flight, on the airplane, yeah, you feel that's a totally different feeling to what it's like to be in space.
Oh, it's different?
It is different. Because it's just what you're experiencing the whole time. I highly recommend, if you get the chance to do one of those zero G flights, you do it. It is extraordinary. That feeling of floating even for 20 seconds is incredible. But now take that and extend that for months. You'd ever come back and you're not falling back to the deck of the airplane. You're still floating.
How long does it take to become? I know how. Humans, we adapt to everything. How did it long for you to take to become something like a normal thing, like up down? Spider-Man on my friends. I will not leave you on that.
Yeah, I think it's different for everybody because everybody adapts a little bit differently. But you're right. As humans, we tend to very quickly adapt to extreme environments in good and bad ways. But I think it was probably a couple weeks to where I started feeling like I was graceful, like I wasn't thinking about it, and that's a really cool place to get. And then when
you're like the fairy flying in.
Yes, moving. And then the second time I flew, it's like it was immediate. It was like your brain, your body get back to that place. You're like, okay, this is how we move here. I didn't have to go through that whole readaptation again. It was really fun.
Okay, so I got those questions. The next questions are maybe, I don't know if they are sensitive or what, but the missions you did. You did. Sorry, on Wikipedia.
Oh, I'm sorry. You cut out for a second, so I didn't.
Sorry, no. Just to say, the missions you did on a space shuttle.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the focus of that?
Yeah. So the first flight that I did was STS-128. That was taking me up to the space station on the Space Shuttle Discovery. So part of the point of that mission was getting me to space, and then they brought home astronaut Tim Kopra.
I saw this image with the space shuttle, which is bigger than the entire space station. It's
really
amazing.
Cool. Because every module could fit.
I will put it on the edit.
Okay. And then we had some assembly tasks. We had a new module that was getting attached to the space station. We brought cargo up and back. We attached a new platform that had equipment, that kind of thing, the typical stuff that you would do. And we did some repairs on our spacewalks. And then on the second flight, which was the final flight of the Space Shuttle Discovery, we attached another module. We completed the U.S. construction of the space station. We again did a lot of science experiments, brought a lot of equipment to the space station, and did spacewalks where there were repairs.
So you did EVAs, you did extravehicular.
I did one spacewalk on my
Tell
first
me about
flight.
it.
Yeah.
Please. I mean,
It's
nobody.
extraordinary. Yeah. It's like, all of being in space is a pretty surreal experience. I would say that being out in your own little personal spaceship,
Yeah, but
crawling around
you
the
have
outside of the
a
space.
giant Earth below you.
Yeah, you do. You have to ignore that because it really is a beautiful distraction. And
Yeah.
you're very deliberate and diligent about everything, having a tether on, the way you move around the station, the work that you're doing. And it was funny because I felt like 6.5 hours went by really fast. And I also felt like it was just kind of moving in slow motion. And then I got to ride on the end of that big robotic arm. So I got to move for like 20 minutes on the end of the arm from the end of the station down into the payload bay of the shuttle.
Please make
Beautiful.
it slower. Please make it slower.
I know.
This is great.
Yeah.
This is great. I had. Sorry, I really took a lot of your time. Yeah. Oh, I had a question from a dad who was a Concorde pilot.
Okay.
It was about the G. Okay, acceleration at start and coming back. And what are the differences between, American and Russians, but you didn't do Russians. Wikipedia is wrong. Sorry, Wikipedia.
That's
but
okay.
the G forces. How does it feel on? I did 3G in glider. Yep. Because a friend made a joke on me, but yeah.
So 3Gs is.
It's okay.
It is, and you were in a glider, so it's probably coming through your head. You're feeling like you're getting squished down into your chair. On the space shuttle.
For you, it's long. It's very long, no? The 3G. I mean, for me, it was
it's
10 seconds.
A couple minutes. Yeah, it's not, but it
couple
wasn't
minutes.
that because
Okay.
The space shuttle, when you launch, you're laying on your back, right? So that G loading is through your chest.
Okay.
And that's a lot easier to tolerate than that down vertically through your head feeling in an airplane.
Okay, so you are.
You're on your back, it's coming through you this way.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like rotate your airplane on its tail. That's the way you launch, right? Okay. And so it feels like three of you are sitting on top of you, but then on top of that, you're shaking. With those boosters going, you're shaking like you never imagined your body could shake, which is incredible. And then on landing, the 3Gs was the max that you felt. But on landing, after being in space for a few months, I remember our commander calling out they have a G meter, so they can let you know, okay, we're starting to enter the atmosphere, we're starting to build up some load on the vehicle. And I remember he called out, okay, we're at 0.1 G. And I was like, oh my gosh. At that point, I was like feeling like I was getting pushed into my chair.
Because you had so many days.
Yeah. And then I'm like, how can that only be 1/10 of a G? And then as it increased, your body started to adapt to feeling that load on it again. And then it went up through 3Gs and then back down to 1, and then you land and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so heavy. Just felt like when I got to Earth, I felt like, man, I have to think about standing up and holding my head up and, because everything just felt like it weighed so much. Pretty cool.
That's really great. Okay, that will be one of my last questions. But there was a question about because I actually worked in a similar field about the radiation impact and stuff like that. Chris Hadfield in actually A Strange Rock also talked about it, saying that you can have hips issues, etc. I mean, whatever issues. Did you experience any of that, or is it, like probably driving your car is more dangerous? I mean,
In some ways, yes. I mean, I think the thing about being in space and that, even in the low Earth environment that we're in, is that you are exposed to more radiation than you would be down here on Earth with the protection of our environment. It's kind of like our sunscreen, right? Our
Yeah.
environment or our atmosphere. And so you're exposed to more radiation. We monitor that. I cannot tell you what the number is, what the exposure is. But when he spoke to like hips, that's a different thing. That's like just being floating where you don't
Yeah.
have any load on your body. It's like we are,
So,
the
so
scientists love
that's
us
why you
because
have
we're aging quicker. Oh
that's
yeah,
why you have
exercise.
treadmills and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Huh? Yeah.
Because our bones, our brains and our bodies figure out, man, I don't need bones or muscles anymore. Look at that key cat. I don't need bones or muscles to float. So
Okay.
why should I waste any energy maintaining them? Yeah.
So
So
there
yeah,
is.
but we have really great exercise equipment. Yeah, 2 hours a day exercising, which is very effective.
So it's not related to radiation at all. Actually, it's just related to muscle.
And bone. Yeah, that. Now, the radiation is going to impact your body overall. So,
Yeah.
it's hard to say exactly, like with respect to the bone, what that would be. But radiation is one of the greatest challenges we will have as we go back to the moon, and especially as we're traveling to Mars. And it's why I think when we go and settle on the moon, we're not just necessarily going to be settling on the moon, we're going to be settling in the moon. Those lava tubes, everything inside the moon are really attractive. We have to turn the moon and Mars into our spaceship, right?
Okay.
Because it's not welcoming us like Earth.
So, as you know, your interview will be displayed during the hackathon event.
Yeah.
Okay. So the goal is they want to go to deep space with, let's say, an equivalent to 10 tons to Mars.
Yep.
The current strategy, they will hear it during the event. Huh? Okay, they will
Okay.
hear it during it. Huh? The current strategy is to go to the moon or to place some stations or whatever, and to go to Mars with 10 tons and come back. Bring back 10 tons from Mars.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me what they are doing wrong. No,
Well,
you can troll them a
Yeah.
little bit. Tell me what they are doing wrong.
Yeah, what are you doing to get 10 tons to and from Mars? I think, it's interesting. It's just like now we're thinking about sending humans to Mars again, right? We're going to go establish this presence on the moon so we can
What for?
figure out the ways to get to Mars. But you know what I think we tend not to think about is the human doing the human spaceflight. We wait till the very end to consider what the human needs and all of that. I think it's going to be a lot easier to figure out how to get over the technical issues and everything of carrying a big load like 10 tons to and from a place than it is to be thinking about how the humans will do that trip as well. So, for example,
You're losing
right
me.
now-
You're losing me. Say again.
Okay.
Again.
So right now we're talking about, how we'll send people to Mars for the first time,
Yeah.
right?
Great.
Okay. And so we talk about how do we build the spaceship that'll be able to travel that distance, even if it's 6 to 9 months to get there. What is this little spaceship we're going to build? We talk about, the engine technology and the structure and all of this stuff. And yet we forget until the very end that the people have to be in there, right?
Yes.
So, so for 6 to 9 months traveling to this place, and it's not going to be the Hollywood spaceship, right? It's going to be this relatively small
Oh my God.
spacecraft where right now they had to put the toilet in the bulkhead where you're not going to be able to store or cook food and water the way we do now on the space station, where very quickly on that journey, you're not going to see Earth out the window anymore.
Yeah.
So now you're in this small space with your crewmates, and you still got 7 of the 9 months to go to Mars, and you're eating food that's maybe a pill or a little spongy thing that you add water to. You're trying to find ways. There's not going to be a lot of work to do in that time. So how do we design for the human? How do we put those human considerations into the mission?
It's
from the very
psychology.
beginning?
It's psychology and human factor, as we say.
Yeah. Not to mention the radiation exposure, or
Not
the
to mention
confined
the
space.
fact that Mars is, I mean, it has gravity. It has, I mean, everything's wrong with Mars. But okay, fine.
But it's not welcoming us, right? It's not saying, "Ooh, come to this garden
that's
spot
for
that
sure.
is Mars,"
That's for
right?
sure.
You know, so either we've pre-deployed things there, like this 10 tons of whatever, to, you know, to be waiting there for us to be able to establish our human presence there. But whatever part of that journey that's going to include the humans
So,
needs to consider the humans from the beginning.
so for the guys who will hear you during your birthday, and happy birthday,
Thank you.
the best way to get to the goal is to get to deep space. Actually, Mars is not really there, but the idea was the initial idea, the pitch was go to the moon, make a base, and move out. Shouldn't we go to an asteroid or something with no gravity? Or I mean, I'm talking. It's a space simulation. Huh? Okay, so
Yeah.
anything goes.
Well, I mean, I
What
think
would
our
you do?
bodies like gravity. I think our bodies like gravity. And I think as we do missions like going to Mars or deeper space, the best thing we could do is incorporate that artificial gravity into the system that will keep us as healthy as possible
Okay.
into that place, because that's what we're going to try to do once we get there, right? And so, depending on if you're sending 10 tons without humans, that's a lot easier than sending 10 tons with humans going along with it. So the focus can't just be on what that 10 tons is.
I did not want to ask this question, but did you ever hear? Did you ever read Hyperion from Dan Simmons?
No, I haven't, but my husband probably has.
Okay. So the one of the side quests in there is the fact that you have people called extros, which actually went to outer space. So they didn't do the treadmill. They just had they ended up being 5 meters high, and I don't know, but consider thousands of years, and to you is this is this something, or is this for now, of course, it's science fiction, but is this a way out? There is a very good point from Elon Musk that says Earth could just explode from asteroid. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the guy, but I mean the point is still valid. There's an asteroid, or just people stop making kids, which is the worst.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential things that could get us. In a billion years or so, the sun's going to take us out, right? And I know that seems like forever away.
Only one? Oh, fuck.
No, I think it's more than one, but it's like, even a billion seems like it'll never happen, right? So, it seems we don't have to worry about that. But, ultimately, Earth will not be here. And so we better be doing something along the way that's establishing our presence outside of this solar system, right? I look forward to the Star Trek future. That's my, in my head, that's what I think of, is how, when we bring sci-fi to life as sci-fact, my imagination goes immediately to Star Trek, this positive vision of our future that's still existing on Earth, but is interstellar, right? And so,
but we would not
can't just be Mars.
We would not disseminate the same way as we are now. If we have if we are in a zero gravity environment,
we could become what we think of as the aliens, right? These new kind of life forms that have adapted to
Yeah.
the environment that they're going to be in. And I think at some point as humans, we have to decide, is that okay? Are we going to be okay with like being free of our earthling like bodies and having them, like right now on the space station, you could have different kinds of humans, right?
Sure.
If we didn't do the exercise 2 hours a day, we'd be like these floating blobs. You know, we wouldn't have bones or muscles really anymore because we don't need them up there,
Yeah.
right? We would have what we need to survive.
Yeah, but
And
you could do a
is
Batman.
what
You could
coming
do
back to
a
Earth.
you could do a Spider-Man attack on a friend, and this is worth every bone or whatever. So this.
Yeah, we do that, but we still keep our bones and muscles healthy while we're there.
Nicole, I'm just collecting the last ones, and I think we are
Okay.
done. But I'm just checking because I don't want to offend anyone.
I will have to leave you in 3 minutes.
Yes, so that's fine. No, that's fine. That's really fine. That's really fine. Thank you so much
You're welcome.
for all that. It was a great time for me. You're a fantastic person. You're a fantastic
Aw.
person to discuss with. Okay, so I think I get all my questions. There was just one last because some guy who is a very nice. Just a minute. No, it was a shitty question actually.
Cut
Yeah.
that out of your, edit that, okay?
No, thank you very much, Nicole. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
My
Yeah, I
cat,
can't wait to
my
see
cat
what you put
approves.
together. Thank you,
As you can
Kat.
see, the cat approves. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Benoit, I
Pleasure.
can't wait to see what you put together. Yeah.
That was a really enjoyable